Well, now we're going to have the fourth session to our discussions on the Nnamdi case. Let's get it going once more. And the question is, we're going to talk about the evidence. What's the evidence that the government of Nigeria intends to use against Nnamdi? Before we do that, perhaps I should say some preliminary things. You know, to make sure you understand what we're discussing, I want to cast your mind to the essence of Nigerian constitution, to the essence of having a democracy, to the essence of having a government that operates the constitution. The detention of a person is meant to be controlled and governed by the judiciary, not by the executive. It's very important that you get this. When a person's liberty is taken away and is being arrested and detained, the Constitution requires for his fate to be placed in the hands of the judiciary, not in the hands of the executive. Even though the executive, that's the police, EFCC, DSS, they do the arresting, they must move quickly to place the decisions about that person's liberty in the hands of the judiciary. That's why the Constitution requires that when a person has been arrested, he must be presented before court within 24 hours or 48 hours as the case may be. But 24 hours, he has to be before a judge. That is important. That is a critical difference between our system of laws today and the system of laws that operated during the military rule. It's very important to get that clear. So all those things you hear about the police giving you administrative bail and asking you to report, bullshit. That's not the law. The executive must quickly leave it up to the judiciary to determine the detention of a person. Back to Nnamdi. What sort of evidence does the Nigeria government have? We all have an idea what the government is going to say. There are video clips of Nnamdi attending an Igbo event in the United States and I'm sure in other countries, and he was heard in the video clip saying, "We need guns, we need bullets, we need guns, we need bullets." Many people jumped to the conclusion that, oh, there is the smoking gun. That is the evidence. He was asking for guns and bullets. They then extrapolated that he meant to use guns and bullets to wage war against Nigeria. Well, that is certainly an argument to make. But there is something people are forgetting. In the same video clip, where Nnamdi was asking for money, for guns and bullets, he also said, "We believe that Boko Haram is going to surround all of us in the East. We believe that Boko Haram is going to be attacking us and Bayelsa," and he said a whole lot of things about Boko Haram in the same context. So, if he asked for guns and bullets, how can you tell that he was not asking for guns and bullets in order to form a local militia to defend against Boko Haram? Why must you conclude that guns and bullets were intended to wage war against Nigeria? You know, you got to think about these things deeply. And remember, we're going to deal with the question of proving a case beyond reasonable doubt. You must eliminate, the prosecution must eliminate all reasonable doubts in order to convict. So it is a major doubt what Nnamdi was asking for bullets for. If you recall very well, we hear about the hunters and local militia in Borno State fighting Boko Haram. So we already have in Nigeria a situation where hunters help Nigerian army to fight Boko Haram. Hunters and local militia, they did better than the Nigerian army. So assuming somebody was in the East raising bullets and guns for the purpose of a local militia, especially where he had pointed at Boko Haram as something he was afraid of. But besides, a mere call for give us money for bullets and guns, come on, it doesn't mean what you think it means. Maybe Nnamdi was raising money for the purposes. We see that in this country. Pastors raise money for God, but the money doesn't always go to God. So the purpose for which a person is raising money cannot always be measured by what the person says was the purpose. So you really need to go further. You need to go and get guns. You need to go and determine that he had taken steps beyond merely soliciting for funds. People solicit for funds. He wasn't charged with obtaining by false pretenses. Yeah. Somebody could have said, come on. You didn't mean to buy any gun. You're just raising money and you're playing on these people's fears and the fears of Boko Haram. You tell them Boko Haram is going to kill their village members and brothers, so they begin to contribute money. All these things are possibilities. I don't know for sure what he intended. I haven't asked him. I have no information as to what he actually intended. But from the point of view of a criminal defense lawyer, there is a serious doubt, a reasonable doubt, which the prosecution does not have any capacity to overcome. And by the way, I have to say this about the prosecution. The lawyers working for DSS are useless people. They all need to go back to law school because they don't seem to get it. The manner in which they have handled this case is a total disaster. They bungled every bit of it. They have now antagonized the Nigerian public with the presidency. We now believe that there is some kind of interference. We now believe that there's a pretext, that all these appearances before the judges and final cases are just bullshit. That they have the purpose of detaining this man contrary to the Constitution, and they're just using the court to cover up. And the courts are getting clever. They're saying enough of this game. So talk about evidence, talk about whether the prosecution could prove this case. At this point, I think they will never be able to prove this case. That's just wasting everybody's time. Dragging out this case and making it look like what it's not. Very well, we're going to keep following and watching the cases of Nnamdi as it builds up.